welcome here to this fantastic evening opening up the Upsurge Junior League. I am excited to bring you this action. My name is Orbital, joined here by Nightstar from the UCL. Nightstar, how you doing today?
Yesterday I was on UPL. Tuesday, of course, I was on UCL. Today, UJL. Soon, you're going to see me on UML,
Yeah.
making the round trip.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it at some point. All of us will be everywhere coming around. But today we do have a very spicy matchup to open up the season. We have Aether Esports versus returning finalists after their unfortunate loss in the grand finals of the Winter Split. It is UST Absolute Zero coming in and taking a look and seeing if they have what it takes to pull off a win.
Yeah, I mean, as expected, when you're coming off that finalist performance, we're looking for a strong performance to follow things up from UST. Hopefully, they have the chops here. And for the side of Aether, well, let's see what you got.
Yeah, and this is both going to be coming out of the Mountain Division. Again, Aether Esports, we haven't really seen them before, but excited to see what they can put up. Again, this is a best of three series. And I mean, taking a look at the overall meta, again, this is UJL, but Nightstar, is there anyone that you're kind of interested to follow, at least for the opening of the season?
Yeah, I mean, between these two teams, the mid lane is very interesting, but that's only because on the one hand, you have one person who's a Yasuo main, and on the other hand, you have another person who is a Malzahar main. So I feel like if both of these one tricks end up getting banned out, then, it'll be spicy because we don't know what's the next pick after that.
True. And for the Yasuo side, who exactly will we be watching if they do get the Yasuo? Is that UST or Aether?
That's going to be Shibo, yeah, over on UST. And I mean, for the side of Aether, it'll be Fire Force. He's going to be stepping in this week. We'll see if Aether will uh, make any roster changes, but for this week, they do have some temporary players standing in.
Yeah, temporary players indeed. And again, this is week number one. You have a little bit of time to mess with your roster and to kind of work around and see what you can do. Big question marks, of course, and that is automatically going to bring us into the pick and ban phase, which UST Absolute Zero say as well that we don't want to have any sort of one tricks playing in our game. Malzahar, first ban of this game.
Malzahar taking away. It's also a really, really good matchup into Yasuo because the moment he dashes on in, you just throw down your laser, and well, not a whole lot of outplay potential there. So they're just going to go ahead and respond with the Yasuo. Jinx taken away by UST as well. Yickers has played quite a bit of that this season. And Jinx is just such a power pick right now in the meta.
Yeah, it's going to go ahead and place it at the Jinx and Udyr being hovered. The Camille band on the other side, though, targeting that top side, saying, hey, look, we might not want to play against this champion. We don't want to allow that lockdowns. Either going ahead and saying, hey, some of these priority pick champions, we're not going to allow the Jhin banned away, and that's going to mean the automatic Hecarim pickup from UST Absolute Zero.
Yeah, very quick Hecarim pickup. It is pretty much priority at the moment just because of how well he plays at all times in the game. Of course, scales towards the late game, but even the early and mid game are very, very good. Yes, there are some champions that can outperform him in certain situations, like the Udyr early game, or something like a Xin early game, or towards the late game, something like the Lilia, who does bring a little bit more damage. But Hecarim, just all-around balanced pick. And we're going to see a Volibear currently be hovered. Very good in the top lane still, but a rising priority in the jungle.
And we do see the Seraphine locked in right afterwards. So Seraphine being one of the notable mid supports, mostly supports, of course, but still very dangerous no matter where you take that champion. So we'll have to wait and see, of course. And so, of course, we'll see what they decide and opt into, because knowing that Encore can flip its way around and turn a team fight, that can be very, very scary. So they'll go ahead, opt for the Urgot top side. So already two very heavy bullies for UST's top side of the map.
Yeah, and I think that for the side of UST, they figure that it's going to be a Volibear headed into that top lane. 8 Yen, he's the player that has more Volibear experiences. I'm Iwa is actually a bot lane main, so we'll see if he has the Volibear in his pool, because I think at this point you're probably looking to move that Volibear into the jungle just because of how uh, terrible is one way to phrase it. The top lane matchup can be with the Urgot.
A little bit rough, but the Vel'Koz is locked in, so that's going to be a staple of the mid lane or support, depending on where they opt for it. But the Seraphine Misfortune lane is what Aether Esports have opted to go for and said, hey, this is the winning combination that we want to work with, and we'll go ahead and give it a test run. So standard, somewhat standard compositions across the board, and, you know, some poke and aggression coming out for Aether in the bot side.
Poke and aggression is kind of the name of the game if they want to run that duo in the bot side. If they do throw Seraphine into the mid lane, I have a feeling that Vel'Koz will kind of just follow where Seraphine goes. So that'll be interesting to keep track of once we round out this draft. But Thresh Silas taken away early on. Just trying to pinch whatever pool is left.
Yeah, and just realizing that they have to optimize a little bit on the ban phase. So the Silas taken away, don't want to allow that one into anyone's hands where you go, because of course the stolen Onslaught of Shadows, the stolen Fear Beyond Death, those big ticket ultimates could of course turn the team fight. Last second here for Aether on their last ban, and they opt for the Kai'Sa, so taking away another S tier ADC, saying, hey, we don't want that assassin roaming anywhere. And UST answer with a Lissandra hover, showing that they understand that some CC chains and wombo combos could be making their way if they're not careful.
Yeah, just taking some of these utility champions away, or hard engaged champions. So taking away the Lissandra and Silas, both will have great dive potential into something like a Vel'Koz, which is exactly what he's weak against. So it does make sense there where UST want to try and protect this Vel'Koz pick. So most likely we're going to see this go into that mid lane. For the side of Aether, they're looking at a couple of possibilities. They could go mid, jungle, top lane, or support, really, just because of the flexibility offered. And they go ahead and go for the Cho'Gath pick. So still plenty of open-endedness, I would say, on the Aether draft. And for UST, it's really just determining where this Vel'Koz goes.
That's it looks like it will be run in the support role if this Yone is locked in. It's a heavy A position with a Vel'Koz to try and round out on the AP side. So not sure exactly how that will work. Looking for a final lock-in. And if this is actually a Nautilus lock-in, that would mean USC absolutely have opted against, and they have. They have opted against a standard ADC and said this is the time to go a little bit crazy. I'm interested in what they're going to do, because on the other side, Aether go, cool, you're going to run non-standard. We'll do something a little non-standard on ours as well. The Yuumi being hovered, and it
Sushi
yeah,
is
this
a
is a little bit
Yuumi one
crazy.
trick.
Oh,
So,
nope, opt for the Leona. Okay, so I
Okay.
held my breath. I was a
All right.
little bit worried, but it is going to be the Leona.
I wouldn't actually have been too opposed to the Yuumi, just because you have pretty good vehicles to sit on in the Volibear Cho'Gath. So it actually wouldn't have been too bad here. The pivot towards Leona adds an additional frontline champion. I don't think this team really needs more frontline because of the fact you're running both Cho'Gath and Volibear. Cho'Gath should be opting for the chem tank, so he's going to have a little bit of engage power. And then, of course, Volibear, he'll be running Predator, along with most likely will also be the chem tank. So you have plenty of engage. The Leona just seems a little extra, a bit unnecessary. And what I would have liked to see instead, maybe a bot lane mage, just to supplement some of the damage that Seraphine might not be able to output, or something just to allow you to protect this MF.
Yeah, might as well. Give your carry a little extra something, right? When you're
Mhm.
running the likes of an MF, you also have a lot of mobility in your pocket. So adding that Yumi onto the table would have provided them a lot of priority in terms of how they can control this bottom lane. Because again, no standard ADC for UST Absolute Zero, and that throws questions. If this is a Yone Nautilus bottom lane, that would be a double melee composition into a squishy Seraph, a squishy Misfortune, I should say. If it's the Urgot, which I don't think it would be, of course, but what do you make of this style for game number 1 of all things?
Yeah, so definitely very interesting. It could still be the Vel'Koz headed into that bot lane as well, just because Vel'Koz will be able to farm that lane out to some degree, and the Nautilus will be there to protect him. Uh, so USC have options. It's just definitely if you're running Yoni Nautilus, it's a big kill threat bot. So that makes the most sense, and it could also indicate that Hecarim's going to be spending a whole lot of time down in that bot lane. And for the side of Aether, it's very interesting that they do lock in the Cho'Gath going into the Urgot, just because, of course, the shotgun knees are going to do percent health damage. So Urgot isn't doesn't feel too uncomfortable in that matchup, and uh, as well as he's really able to kite out the Cho'Gath to a somewhat decent degree.
Yeah, so maybe going for that mid to late, just saying, yeah, we give up the early game, of course, and just farm for late. Now in the mid lane, Shibo getting that counter pick into the Seraphine with Fire Force on. Uh, a very annoying champion, but also very immobile. What do you make of this mid lane situation, considering these were the two that we were looking towards in terms of, the solo carry potential
Mhm.
if they got their main champions?
Yeah, so the Seraphine in this mid lane doesn't necessarily provide a ton of kill threat. There's still some, of course, because you have that lockdown. Um, but if there was a little bit more, I actually would have liked to see that Volibear go into that, just hard camp that mid lane, because it's really easy to do so. If you burn the flash from Vel'Koz with Predator boots onto the Volibear, you can just return over and over again. And that just might be their game plan, even with the Seraphine in the mid lane. Because if Seraphine does get ahead as well, she hits that Moonstaff a lot faster. These tanks just take that much more damage to take down, and this mid game could be very, very devastating from the side of Aether.
Yeah, if they can pull off the composition, but you got some of the hard scalers on the other side. That Yone, of course, everyone knows how much of a terror it can be.
Mhm.
WGM, a whole grain man on this Hecarim. I mean, this is a UST that is looking for a little bit of revenge and a little bit of redeemed pride, right? Losing 0-3 in the grand finals of the UJL Winter Split just previously has to hurt them a little bit, and that was just last week, if I'm not mistaken, or about 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago. Very sorry. So looking at this overall, I mean, do you think this might be a little bit of overaggression, maybe a little bit of them throwing up their pride and saying, hey, we're still one of the top dogs? Or do you think this is them actually feeling like this is the standard meta, this is something teams should be following in the coming games?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a flex draft in the fact that, yes, you have a Yone bot lane. You're probably not seeing that too often. And Vel'Koz also a champion that doesn't really get picked um, kind of blind like this. But at the same time, it plays out very, very well because of the scaling. You have that percent health damage coming in from Urgot with his shotgun knees. You also have percent health damage coming in from Vel'Koz. And then you still have solid, persistent DPS afterwards with the Yone. He still gives you that extra layer of damage. And with the Hecarim, it's not like he's lacking a dive buddy either. So the balance on this USC composition is very good, in my opinion.
All right, well, there you go. Some thoughts moving in, and of course, we'll see if UST Absolute Zero can come back and give us a good showing here in week number 1, or if Aether Esports will take down the previous grand finalists of the Winter Split. You don't want to miss it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game number 1 between UST Absolute Zero and Aether Esports.
Prove your justice. Choose me. 限界だって恐怖心だって超えてゆけるって言い聞かせて次の一歩を強く踏むだけ華麗に先未来を交差する思惑正義の火を輝かせて
to us being live on the Rift here. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We had a few technical difficulties, but we are back on the Rift. Of course, we do have UST Absolute Zero on the blue side, so let's go ahead and run down their roster. In the top side, it is going to be Goombi in the jungle, Whole Grain Man. In the mid lane, it is going to be Shibo in the ADC role, or APC. In this case, it is going to be Wolf. And at support is Davy Jones.
And on the flip side, for the side of Aether Esports, we've got 8 Yen, Imiwa, Fire Force, Captain Yikers, and Sushi for their lineup. And we have a nice little interesting 5-man, you know, hanging out together but not together at the same time.
Well, they might, depending on how they play.
Oh.
And again, this is a quiet start. They're a little bit shaky. You can see him stepping. Yikers. Oh, ADCs don't face check. You're going to pull a double lift. He pulls a double lift. That's going to be face checking first blood to Shibo as UST Absolute Zero go ahead and say thank you very much. This is why you drop wards.
Yeah, usually you don't drop a ward onto your own blue buff when you're planning to start your own blue buff. So it truly is tragic there. Never saw the approach, and really nice 5-man play coming in from the side of UST to start this game off. Getting that first blood onto Shibo. This is a great matchup for him as well. Of course, once he hits level 6, he does have very nice kill pressure into any sort of control mage, which is exactly this matchup.
The couple tags on the bottom side does let Yikers and Sushi know that yes, first blood happened, but everyone's still up to play. No summoner spells, except I believe an ignite from Shibo was used. So entirety of the bottom lane is hinging on this level 2 if they decide to go in or not.
Yeah, a lot of freedom, and they're actually walking up.
It's going to be a little bit of a throw down. Yikers takes a full brunt of a combination. That's just a kill.
God.
Out of nowhere, a simple kill onto Sushi.
Yeah, you blink and he was just dead. And now, okay, this is a very interesting invade. He's going to be able to get some damage down, but I think he's trying to get out of dodge now.
Yeah, and again, that might have been the counter invade or counter gank if they were attempting it, but rooted out very quickly now means that this bottom lane is ahead as well. You can take a look, CS differential already staying even, which in that situation you would pray Yikers actually has a larger CS disparity or larger lead, I should say, but still barely up there as we now see Fire Force might have to burn the flash, dodges the hook, but gets the root on Davy Jones. Davy Jones takes so much damage. Fire Force goes cool. Good gank, guys.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, they're able to force the Seraphine off the wave. Seraphine also just doesn't quite have that sustain quite yet. So that means Shibo, once the Ignite is off of cooldown, could provide an opening to try and get another solo kill in this lane. Meanwhile, we do see that bot Scuttle Crab getting secured by the Volibear, so at the very least, he will get one of them here. And that means the Volibear isn't going to suffer too much in this early game.
Not at all, and where he wants to start applying the pressure, and it seems he has opted for the bottom side, walking straight through a ward. He now rotates through, drops a ward into the Tri-Brush, and he's going to lose that freshly placed to Woof, who goes ahead and grabs what is considered an extra CS.
Yeah, nice little extra bit there. And now in this top lane, the Cho'Gath actually going for Unsealed Spellbook here. I'm interested in if he ends up going still full tank or if he ends up going for some sort of Everfrost build and going for more of an AP bruisery flavor, which would be a little bit interesting. It would also add that little bit of damage that they might be missing here in this composition. Of course, he'll still be tanky because of that ult and being able to get ult stacks. So I actually would like that build just a little bit more, or at least some sort of damage source added in there.
Yeah, you can see the double amplifying tome coming out for 8 Yen, so At least his Qs are going to be hitting for a little bit harder, his E's as well, and all the fun abilities that he has. Davy Jones hitting that level 4 to the level 4 of Yikers, and Yikers actually gets hit. And that, or the hook, and that is going to be Sushi. Taking a lot of the pain. Mid lane Shibo continuously pressuring out Fire.
Just find an opening. Definitely can just take that all in just because he is mana unreliant. And now that he is level 6, definitely could happen. Level 6 and has Ignite. So that should be the lane really to watch as he finds one more short trade. And that means the next trade should just be the all-in.
Ahead and go towards the side of UST Absolute Zero. They do have control over the mid and bot lane, so why not, right? Why not get this first pick off the table? It is going to be a Cloud Dragon, so that will be the Hecarim enjoying that free benefit and having a little bit faster pace.
Nice little dragon there. Being able to get that extra ult cooldown, of course, really nice in the mid lane and in that top lane. So that'll be something to keep watch of if they decide to play a little bit more aggressive because of that.
Hitting level 6, just getting the ultimate would have a little bit higher ult priority as well. So keeping track of that Onslaught of Shadows, where he wants to put that first ultimate, will make all the difference.
Jungle role, because if you compare him, the Volibear's still level 4. Like, he's nowhere close to getting that ultimate where all of a sudden he can dive towers, namely probably looking at that top side, but yeah, he just doesn't have any playmaking potential, whereas on the flip side, you're looking at a Ghost available onto the Hecarim again, and now that he is ultimate with an extra 10 ability or 15 ability haste onto that's going to be scary.
Yep, and Fire Force able to flash away from the Yone ultimate and saving his life, which I think that's rightly called. Again, Fire Force being the main recipient of some of this pressure.
Yeah, so Fire Force being able to get out mostly scot-free is going to be really, really good there. They're going to have to be careful though, because that means when the next dragon does spawn, they're not going to have Seraphine flash for that play. So that just might be a second dragon just conceded over to the side of UST.
Yeah. And that is an unfortunate truth, as that is the ocean. So we will see either an Infernal or just getting the ultimate would out in the latter stages of this game. Davy Jones ready to drag someone to the bottom of the ocean with those hooks, and I can't wait to see what happens. You can already see Woof sitting at level 6. Fire Force though level 7 and getting pinched ever so slightly, as this Rift Herald will go the way of Whole Grain and Shibo, I believe, as they were easily securing that one.
Oh, here's an all-in.
As Whole Grain, yep, bot lane, they go ahead and use the Disintegration Ray. They're going to cut down Sushi.
Wait.
And a hook right back in. Yikers has to flash away. That's going to be the Ignite Burn. And again, bottom lane going in favor of UST Absolute Zero. This Vel'Koz and Nautilus combo are doing some pretty good work.
Yeah, very unconventional duo combination, but it is paying off right now as they've already been able to find 2 kills, of course, early on. They were also able to participate in that level 1 kill. So things going very, very well for them. And now on the flip side, you're looking at this MF, you're looking at this Leona. They're really struggling in just the fact that Leona doesn't get to engage at all anymore, because you're going to get pretty much hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, and that mid lane was just also a heavy trade win for Shiba and Whole Grain, man. They're going to go ahead, drop the Rift Herald, and pick up, I believe, I want to say 3 plates total. Top lane, Yen having a little bit of trouble. The Gentleman has to step away from the fight, as that is the Tiamat early picked up by Goombi, not going for that, you know, sometimes heavier priority on the Mythic. Instead, going for the wave clear and making sure 8 Yen has to battle it out in that side.
Yeah, it pretty much just turns this top side into a bit of a farm lane, which honestly works very well for this Cho'Gath. In fact, he could just get the munch.
Yeah.
Takes a nice big bite of crab there. I like my crab too.
I think we all do, because that's an extra stack for him. And again, the AP Cho'Gath gonna be rocking a little bit. I think that is the Everfrost build he might be going for. So we'll see what it comes to, because again, that is the first kill for Aether Esports. And I mean, if their entire composition hinges on a Cho'Gath, so be it. But I don't think that's anyone's, you know, go-to explanation for a composition. Now we do see Sushi and Yikers going ahead and getting hooked. They're gonna throw down the Disintegration Ray. Almost catches Yikers in the final 6, but he does survive with the heal, and him and Sushi are going to stand away. Dragon, though, coming up in 15 seconds, which means Ewall has to flash away.
Oh, he was in absolute no man's land for that play. There was no wave priority in the mid or in that bottom lane, so he had no business to be there. And of course, he's going to be forced to flash out afterwards. And this bot lane, like, woo, really living up to the 80 carry name.
80 carry indeed, slapping away. I think that's only what, like 40 damage per hit, so already up and going with that 80 rolls. And unfortunately, one of the early kills did go to Davy Jones, so you know, Woof isn't sitting with that 2-0-1 scenario, but still very good for him. Fire Force now gonna get the run of the ultimates, has to burn flash pretty much off a cooldown, and the Encore whiffs. So Fire Force so far has been on the extreme defensive here in the mid lane.
Yeah, and it doesn't get much better because the Yone will just constantly be harassing you, and if there's a roam coming in from either Davy Jones or WGM, it's going to be very problematic, especially without that flash.
No flash means no safety. Davy Jones goes ahead, hooks himself a Leona, but the Leona hooks right back. Cleanse and flash out means the Ignite goes down and Sushi has to walk away. Yikers can't follow up with any consistent damage, and the Q whiffs, but the hook lands, and that's big damage as Nautilus drones him into the depths.
And once again, this Nautilus just playing so well, finding all the hooks, and the coordination in this bot lane is just so good. They know what their damage output is on this very unconventional bot lane, and they're really able to capitalize off of it.
They may not be getting the ADC, but the support is just as juicy. Forcing Sushi down to 3 deaths thus far means this bottom lane is primed and waiting for whenever Wholegrain Man wishes to pay a visit. We also didn't get to talk about it, but it's also Infernal Soul coming out, so big damage gonna be the option. That's gonna be a Hex Tech flash coming out, and Woof just goes, yeah, cool, I'll take your life.
No problem there, as it is just more leads fed straight into the side of UST. They are just accumulating leads really all over the map except for that top side. You look at that jungle, it's a level lead and a farm differential. In this mid lane, it's still an EXP lead. I believe he's got like maybe 1 or 2 wave advantage there in EXP. And in this bottom lane, Wolf has a 1 level and Davy Jones also has a level advantage. So besides this top lane, everyone else is doing very well for themselves, and it just means that for the side of Aether, they need to throw more resources into the one lane that is doing well.
It's actually going to be a collapse in as a re-engage makes Shivo call in the reinforcements. Nice little Encore slams through too, and that's Wholegrain Man having to watch his mid laner fall. A teleport in from Aetyen might follow up. The knockup isn't going to land, but silence will. Everfrost slows down Goombi. And so Shivo loses his life after going a little bit too aggressive under the tower.
A nice, really nice pickup there coming in from the side of Aether. They're able to catch out this really problematic Yone. And if they're able to catch him out just a couple more times, that's going to help out a lot, because both of these compositions not necessarily having big side lane threats. And especially if this Yone wants to go side lane, he doesn't have option to then join the team fight afterwards, as he is, of course, rocking that Ignite. And on the flip side, 8yen, he'll probably be the one matching up, and he'll have the ability to go for something like the exhaust or an ignite to match, and then still be able to teleport to his team afterwards because of that unsealed spellbook.
Unsealed Spellbook, the dream to win the game. Bottom lane, tower down to about 15-20% HP. That's going to be Woof and Davy Jones possibly getting first tower, but mid lane is actually the one that's looked at. Shibo goes, yeah, cool, you killed me, but I'll take more gold. Top lane having a little bit of a brawl, flash forward, and a miss on the impaling strike. So no fear beyond death, no execute for Gumby.
A bit of a missed opportunity there coming in from Gumby. And it's also just the fact that he did have to burn his flash for it. So it was a bit of an expensive play for Gumby, but he does have his Titanic Hydra now completed. So he's going to be able to shove waves very quickly now.
And that's the one thing you don't want to face if you're facing up against an Urgot, right? This monster that can lifesteal through just about anything you throw at him and can push a wave faster than any top laner that you can see. And it's a scary thought, right? And so taking a look at where Gumby goes as this dragon is coming up, no teleport for either top laner. So you can see both of them walking a little bit towards that bottom lane. However, Ayen is still heading towards the top side jungle. I don't know. It looks like they're just giving this one up, which I feel like they don't have an option to do so because that will be sole point.
Yeah, it definitely feels really bad here because, again, you're giving up so point. Your composition is kind of built to try and go for these early team fights.
Yeah, and that's going to be a nice ultimate from Shibo, kicking off this team fight, and they're just simply cutting through the enemy opponents. A 3-for-0 clears the mid lane as UST Absolute Zero go ahead and ping that mid lane inner tower.
Yeah, and you see right there. Yeah, I guess there's your answer. Even if they wanted to try and take the team fight, it's not looking good at the moment as there's just so many leads accumulated all across the board for the side of UST. Yes, the Urgot hasn't had much success in that top side against the Cho'Gath, but now he's able to roam and find himself a kill. That just feels really, really good. Just even being able to get your top laner involved, even without that teleport.
Bottom lane falls as well, so overall massive gold lead already swinging in favor of UST Absolute Zero. 18 minutes in, already have, I believe, a 7.3k lead, 3 dragons for themselves, gold advantages in every single lane. If we go ahead swap over, you're looking at 7.6 versus 5k in the mid lane, in the jungle 1.1, top lane only 100 golders. So but ADC versus APC Woof up about 2.5. So mid and APC, the two that really count, are way far ahead for Absolute Zero.
Yeah, and the other issue is the fact that it's not just those lanes are so far ahead from the side of UST. It's also just the fact that even on their own team, they're really struggling. They don't have the gold resources to really make a stand in these team fights. And you're really left wondering if this fight ever breaks out, which eventually there should be a 5v5, where's the damage coming from? Because the Cho'Gath doesn't have 5 ultimates to kill each and every single one of them. He only has 1.
Yeah, only has 1 munch, and that still has to be under a certain threshold. So execute for execute. I mean, if you're looking at execute Aen with that Everfrost's Hope, and then actually still building a little bit towards that AP side, a little bit of a cheeky catch means Sushi loses a quarter of his HP. But again, the Everfrost into the Zanyas, I'm not sure if this is exactly how you want to play this Cho'Gath when the rest of your team is this far behind.
Yeah, I don't hate it exactly because of the fact that, again, this composition needs damage and you're going to get damage out of the Everfrost. Now, the Zanyas afterwards, it is going to give you a little bit protection, but really, you're probably looking at a Gargoyle's third just to go into pretty much full tank afterwards. So it makes sense. We'll just have to see if he'll actually be able to do anything with this build because, I mean, it doesn't... Let's be fair. A lot of items aren't going to help him here.
Not a lot of items. He is barely sitting in there. I think he's sitting on max stacks that he can get from his minions right now. So he is about as tinky as he can get without a full team fight breaking out and him getting a munch down. So keep eyes on where they go next. Multiple pink wards being cleared out by the side of UST Absolute Zero. And Baron is the next objector, or at least the one that they're clearing wards out for. However, Infernal Soul is coming up, or potential Infernal Soul will be coming up in a minute 30. So taking a look and seeing how Aether decide to prep will mean all the difference here in mid game.
Yeah, it's all about that dragon fight here and just accumulating as much resources as possible to make that fight just ever so more possible for the side of Aether. They need to get as much gold as they can onto this MF. Make sure she's able to maybe get another half an item. Maybe get that last whisper at the very least, because there is some armor being accumulated and there's a lot of health bars as well. So you just have to try and deal as much damage as you can, and most likely that damage is coming onto that front line.
Yeah, front line is going to make or break this team fight. You can see the entirety of Aether Esports have been able to ward up their side and a little bit into the enemy side as well. So if those wards get cleared out, that will be good for UST. But if they don't, they could provide a window of opportunity, a little bit of extra information for the squad in terms of trying to shut down these powerful members that are roaming around right now on instead of UST Absolute Zero. Everyone's here. A little bit of a split side. How are they going to approach this?
Yeah, they're going to have to be careful of a flank coming in. Yone kind of has pretty clear positioning here. If he's able to get a side flank, he gets a really good ultimate. It's just easy follow-up.
Oh, well, they just go straight in the back line for it, and a beautiful wombo from the mid-in jungle of UST Absolute Zero means the fight is already won. The destruction beams disintegrate. That Nautilus, or not the Nautilus, the Cho'Gath, I believe. That will be a 5-for-1 ace out of nowhere as UST Absolute Zero claim the kills, claim the gold, and will also claim the Infernal Soul.
And it's just an absolute slaughter fest at that dragon. They get a 5-for-1 ace, and they're also going to turn over towards this Baron buff. One of those two champions finish up that dragon. They're headed straight over, and this is an insane lead, Orbital. I don't know if this one's possible to come back.
Normally, looking at the composition from the side of Aether Esports, you would say they have an opportunity, right? A Cho'Gath in the top side tends to get a little bit tankier if he's building that. You have a Seraphine in the mid lane, and you have a Misfortune who can deal out a very strong wombo combo, but the odds are heavily stacked against him, right? You're facing down an Infernal Soul. You're facing down over 11k, or I think just shy of 11k in terms of the gold difference. And your top laner is building AP, so not even close to as tanky as you would like him to be right now. He's also rocking that heal, so can't teleport into a fight just yet. Can't really make his way unless he walks there. And you saw how quickly he got shredded by Woof, this AP carry that is currently sitting on 19 stacks of the Medjai.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference really that the Cho'Gath is building AP or not, because regardless, he has so much percent health damage, he's just going to get shredded regardless, and they just have to look for picks.
Picks might not come easy. Goombi going ahead and splitting the top side, has a Stride Breaker available. 8 Yen hiding off on the side, and this could be the follow-up. They just dive all the way in. They say, cool, your Seraphine is dead. Charge in the backline whole frame, man. That is a beautiful snipe to solo out the Leona, and they just dive the tower. They say, fight over, game over. Space is gone. Shibo snipes out the last kill, and that will end with triple kill for the Yone. 19-3. UST Absolute Zero make it look easy.
They do indeed make it look easy. They take game number 1 in such a convincing fashion, and
they might not be able to end actually.
Well, the death timers are very, very short here. They do have Baron minions coming in, so they're going to try.
Yeah, all right, there we go. That is going to be the dodge out on the Encore, and that will signal the end of the first concert. UST Absolute Zero putting on a clinic just shy of 25 minutes.
Yeah, Encore, do you want more well, the side of UST say no.
Yeah, and it all felt like it kind of started with that kind of slow buildup of that bottom lane, right? You don't normally
Mhm.
look at a Vel'Koz and Nautilus to be the ones that kick it off, but getting the first kill onto Shibo meant that Fire Force is going to stay back, and then just the rolling kills consistently coming right on top of Yikers and Sushi set the tone that this Vel'Koz is going to be a menace.
Yeah, and I mean, it was my captain, but he went down with the ship there. It was Davy Jones all day long landing the hooks. And yeah, it just got snowballed way out of control for them. So the wallets were too heavy and they sank with the ship.
Yeah, but now all the gold lies on the bottom of the ocean, ready for Aether to try and scoop it up here in game number 2. They have one more chance to try and start turning it around, or else Absolute Zero will be able to take a 2-0 in the beginning of the opening season. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the continuation of this series.
I like the theme. When
We're
we
going
close
for a
out.
heavy-handed pirate theme here, I think, no matter what we do.
Audio, you back? You good?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
So long.
And here we go once again with Aether Esports and UST Absolute Zero. Game number one going UST Absolute Zero's way in a quick 25-minute bout, which saw them uh, feeling like they single-handedly crushed every single lane, whether with or without jungle interference.
Yeah, it was just Bon Voyage very early on, and coming into game number two, I mean, draft was okay. It wasn't the worst, but certainly if you get it starts with the level one, not getting cheesed at the level one, and then it comes down to kind of all the follow-up play because they just looked lost after they got onto the rift.
Yeah, and to say that the bottom lane got out of hand would be an understatement, right? Woof, in the previous season, I believe, actually played support. We got to see him play that Vel'Koz in the support role. This time as a carry, got a lot of good kills, got a lot of good ultimates off. So, questions here: do you feel that is a valid ban against UST if you are Aether Esports?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the bans necessarily need to be changed a whole lot. It really just comes down to being able to deal with some of the plays that are coming out. Perhaps the thrash was a bit of a misban in that regard because if they had the thrash, they would have been able to disengage a lot more easily in that bot side. So that might have been something that they're kind of going through just to make sure that you know they're able to get out of this bot lane scot free.
Yeah, and that might be the whole key to the operation. Mid lane as well, Shibo and Fire Force. We saw a very large gap coming in there now. Granted, that was off the back of Whole Grain Man sending pretty much as soon as he hit level 6, gank after gank that way, and Shibo picking up kill after kill. I mean, do you feel this is also the do you also feel like this is the start of just a gap there as well? Is this just a gap all around, or do you think they can still find their rhythm?
Yeah, certainly the gap is there. But I think the main issue in that game was that th- the Volibear just felt very lost in how to play the game after that bot lane just kind of got destroyed. So maybe the early game plan was to play around that bot side, but clearly it was it was doomed too quickly.
Yeah, just doomed a little bit too quickly. As thank you so much for your patience, everyone. We are getting some of these technical difficulties out of the way, so we should be into champion select shortly. Now, again, Aether Esports has selected and opted to be on that blue side, I believe, or it was just swapped one way or another. But they
Mhm.
have priority picking. So last time they did prioritize, I believe it was a Seraphine and Volibear.
Mhm.
Before this time around, do you think we're going to see a little difference coming in, especially since you said that the Volibear looked lost in game number one?
Yeah, for sure. The Hecarim will be brought up as a possible pick here. Vel'Koz, Malzahar being banned out, first ban. I mean, the Vel'Koz was pretty devastating. That is definitely understandable. Now, for the Urgot, it's it's fine. The Urgot just a little bit interesting why they banned that one because if you're looking at what lane did fine or did well, it was that Cho'Gath and that Urgot topside.
Yeah, it did its job, is really all you could say about it. Didn't do more, didn't do less, did
Hmm.
its job in holding down that top side, making sure the Cho'Gath didn't get too out of control. So they are going to go ahead, ban away the Vel'Koz and the Urgot. Banning away the Jin still, don't want to give that one over to Wolf. On the flip side, UST said, look, we are on the red side. We think that you're going to prioritize this champion. So they go ahead, take away the Hecarim and say, good luck. You can default back to the Volibear if you want, but that is going to lead to that situation of possibly the jungler looking a little bit lost.
Yeah, so first pick here, I would expect an Udyr, just because Udyr is pretty simple. If they want another champion, that would be fairly simplistic to play because again, their jungler today is a AD carry main. So, the champ pool might not exactly match the regular playstyle. So Udyr will indeed get locked in, and that's just a champion
Wow.
that's going to be a lot more up tempo. And UST just go, hey, anything you can do, I can do probably a lot better.
Volibear and Seraphine both locked in automatically, and the ball now back in Aether Esports court. They went ahead, picked the Udyr, and now Karma and the Senna are available. But I mean, that's an old school build. It's an old school composition built up right there for you. Instead, they're gonna hover the Ashe, which I feel would give some priority to that bottom side. Hey, throw out the crystallized arrow and be able to get our jungler in. And if they go for the Zyra as well, this is also an old school style of composition, but this is going a couple seasons back with the level of poke and aggression that they're coming out with.
Yeah, we're winding the clock way back. But I actually like Zyra as a champion. I've always have. So Ashe Zyra, I'm certainly not opposed to it. And if Seraphine does go into that bottom lane, there's plenty of harassment to put down onto the Seraphine where you're able to bully her out of lane. Now the Yone coming in, very bold pick again. It's mostly for Shibo in that regard. Does have the Yasuo available as well in this game, so that could be something he goes towards. But into the second phase, we'll see what kind of bans come out for the side of especially Aether to deal with this UST comp.
Yeah, and they go ahead and say, well, we'll just ban away whatever you played last game. The Nautilus is going to be locked away, which I feel when you have a Zyra, you can actually cheat that a bit. You don't have to ban it away right out. But they do opt that it is just a little bit too scary. The depth charge being a very strong ultimate to work with. 10 seconds left. I feel UST might also pinch that mid lane still. Just go ahead, give Shibo a much higher priority chance of winning. 4 seconds left, winding down the clock, and it will be that Lissandra once again.
So Lissandra Silas just taking away, I guess in this case, it's the tankier champions to deal with Yone. And it's going to be nice in that regard. Most likely you're going to be looking at a control mage in that mid lane as a response, which are both matchups that Yone absolutely loves. So already looking great here for UST in this second game when it comes to at least being able to play through mid jungle.
Yeah, and they go for another hook champ, and they leave open the one that can actually go past the plants if she hits you with the Zenith Blade, the Leona being locked in here. So this is also looking like another APC in the bottom side. The Seraphine might be going Woof's way, and I mean, this just might be UST's new branding. APC in the bottom side with an 80 in the mid lane.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not too opposed to it because you do need magic damage to come out from somewhere, and especially when you do have that Yone, and if you're not willing to play champs like the Lilia or the Nidalee, it's probably just a better alternative. You can play some AP champions in the top side like the Rise or that Cho'Gath that we saw in the previous game. You can do that, but it's just so much easier to throw up a tank in that top side or go for a hyper-scaling top laner like a Camille.
And surprisingly, that is going to be, I believe, the set in the mid lane or top side. So melees all around except for the Ashe Zyra. Going to be a very brutal confrontation no matter where you go. Yone taking a look, picking his options, but Seraphine and Leona, we still have yet to see where they're opting to go, and that will be the Seraphine in the bottom side. I kind of alluded to that earlier, but it is finally confirmed with the Camille in the top side. So aggressive laners once again for UST, but a much hardier and I believe a little bit bulkier composition for Aether Esports.
Yeah, I mean, in that first game, they still drafted a very bulky comp, right? With the Leona, Volibear, and the Cho'Gath. And I would assume that in this game here, we're not going to get the surprise Everfrost pivot, and instead we're going to have that full tank Malphite and full tank set. But certainly something that you do have to keep in mind is that Malphite could just go for an AP pivot. I expect to see him going into that mid lane to match Yone, since Yone is going to be more reliant on attack speed and allow the set to match up against the Camille, who has ways to deal with the Camille just a little bit better.
Yeah, and finding those match priorities is a huge thing, like you said. And because Aether, again, this is game number two. They lost game number one, so they need to find their groove. They need to find their flow, their momentum to work with. And if that's to play a very simplified composition to, let Iwa just have a little bit of freedom in where he wants to go with that Udyr, and possibly finding some long range ultimates with that Ash arrow. This could be the time for them to kind of kick back against the grand finalists of the winter split. That will be the set in the top side, like you said. Goombi going ahead, grabbing that Camille here in the following round. So between the top and mid, even though we saw mid lane Shibo kind of take over, do you see one of these lanes going in favor of Aether Esports so the Udyr can collect and kind of help provide that possible win advantage?
Yeah, if you're looking for a lane to try and gank and focus around, I would say you go top lane just because Camille, of course, early game still has those windows where she is very weak. Udyr has really nice gank timings up top side. With a set, you're able to dive later on if need be, especially with the help of a roaming Malphite. So I think top lane is where the focus should go. And more importantly, for this composition from Aether, you're looking at, well, all of these champions can just pull the trigger. They can dictate when they want to fight. So maybe being able to have more control on when fights or when they get to fight is going to help them out a lot more in this second game than it did in that first game where, again, they were very lost.
Yeah, and this time around also they have a little bit of an expected outcome, right? The
Mhm.
For Aether Esports now on the bottom side as well with the Ash Zyra, they have a little bit of understanding what's going to come out, right? They understand that Woof is probably going to pick an ABC each and every time now, or at least in this series. So they play accordingly. Do you feel that this is a better matchup than game number one? Do you feel like they have the opportunity to kind of come out in the lead in this situation, or possibly even just push back against the multiple deaths that they gave up to the enemy team?
Yeah, I think it really just comes down to the performance of the Zyra. If this Zyra is on point, this Zyra is going to be absolutely devastating because you look at that composition on the flip side, you've got Camille, you've got Volibear, you've got Yone, you have Leona. Where's the range in this composition? Like they have no way to deal with the Zyra, and they're also very committed when they do go in. So they're going to be diving on in. If Zyra gets a great ultimate and she's very far ahead, she gets that second item Zanya's, she casts Zanya's, and they're all on top of her ult, they will get absolutely decimated.
Yeah, and that's the wombo combo that you don't want to be on, or possibly responding with a wombo of your own. So we'll see what both teams can pull off. These are the compositions that they have decided to place their bets on here in game number two. And for those at home, don't touch that browser. We'll be right back after we ensure a quality stream for you. Don't touch that browser. go for potentially the last game of the evening if UST Absolute Zero have anything to say about it. But Aether Esports coming out with a brutal face first composition. Malphite mid with a set top to combat the Yone and Camille. So question marks all the way around. Junglers meeting up in the mid lane, exchanging greetings and pleasantries, and a couple dances to kick things off.
One of the rune choices I experimented with on Malphite mid, this is pretty much exclusively into AD mids, of course, was the lethal tempo, and I had a great time because I built full armor, and once I procced the lethal tempo, man, I was clapping very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a scary thing if you let the Malphite get up in time with those with the armor stacking. One of my favorites to do as well, as I take Malphite mid in stupid situations, of course, uh, is electrocute. It's the dumbest thing that you'll ever do, but the greatest time you'll ever have as a Malphite, because nothing says you won the lane like a Zed getting very upset that a shard does close to a third of his HP at level 7. We are going to go ahead, see both junglers starting out on their bottom side. So red buff for the Udyr and blue buff for the Volibear.
Yeah, conservative starts here. Possibly looking to just goon squad this top side, as top lane did kind of get highlighted here. At least for the very least for the side of Aether, just trying to make sure that this Camille doesn't get very far ahead, and also being able to perhaps snowball this set. And then really, I think in mid lane and in bot lane, you're going to be very happy on both sides to just kind of farm it out.
Yeah. And I also feel if the lanes do end up farming and Fire Force and Aether are able to step up and kind of keep pace, I feel like they won, right? Because these are tanks that want to scale into the late game. They want to get there in good standing without their lane opponents taking a lot of that farm back and not being able to kind of grind out with kills, right? So keeping eyes on that setup, keeping eyes on how they play, that will be the big question. Already we see that disparity in the top side is Aether getting forced under his tower by an early level up from Goombi.
This top lane already not looking ideal. We'll see if the Udyr is able to influence it, as he's about to finish that top side. And in this mid lane, oh, this is dicey.
That's a lot of damage, and oh, Shibo almost fell. If those minions had hit a few more times, that would have been first blood. And the flash means Fire Force is left all alone. Oh, he might just die. Straight up to Shibo, and granted a kill after flashes go down. Now bottom lane, gonna be seeing some action, and a nice root combo signals a kill. Davy Jones and Woof just say, yeah, cool, we'll keep going. We have no problem continuing this aggression. Once again, UST Absolute Zero kick things off with 2 early kills.
They kicked it off with an absolute bang. Getting that and killing the mid lane, nice little times. Of course, roam from the jungler just to force Fire Force really to just go ahead and decide who he wants to give the kill gold over to. And bot side, that's one of the drawbacks of this bottom lane is, oh, okay.
Oh, Goombi might actually fall. Aether might have gotten away. No, health bars are extremely low, both in double digits for these guys. Now bottom lane, Ewok took a fight a little bit too close to home, and he is going to fall. Now his bottom lane's in trouble. Yikers has to burn the cleanse and flash, but he still might not get away. He is going to get stunned and rooted. Sushi on the follow-up is going to run under the tower, and another 2 kills go in favor of UST Absolute Zero. This bottom lane is a disaster zone for Aether Esports. A follow-up underneath is gonna attempt one more time. Goombi goes cool. Teleport used, kill secured.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of baffled that again decides to stay there instead of going for the recall. He had to teleport to get back into lane, and now like it was pretty much going to be the same situation, but instead you would have not donated another 300 gold to your lane opponent. So a little bit of a fumble there perhaps coming in from Aether, and down in that bottom side, it's as you mentioned, disaster zone. And now that the flash is burned onto the Ashe, it could get worse.
Goes, oh yeah, I don't have a support right now because jungler is doing dragon.
She's
so
on dragon.
Walks away straight to the river and says, cool, yeah, guys, can you hurry up the dragon? I want to get back to laning.
Yeah, I want to play the game a little bit here. I mean, the Malphite lane is still good into Yone. Like, it's very similar to what we saw in game number 1, where the Cho'Gath was fine into the Urgot, but are you able to actually get a massive enough advantage to all of a sudden be able to dictate things come mid game? That's the real question.
Oh, but that's an unstoppable force straight into the mid. Shibo is gonna get walked down to pain.
Oh,
No,
oh.
he can't follow up with an auto attack. He canceled it. Fire Force had it all and accidentally dropped the cake. Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Oh, truly tragic times coming in that mid lane, and because of the teleport, Shibo, he'll be just fine getting back into the lane. He even has the help of Whole Grain Man to shove out that wave for him, so he actually gets everything. Gets the wave crashed, and I mean, if Volibear hit 6 there, they definitely could have just gone for a dive.
Yeah, unfortunately comes on the last minion, so he's just like, yeah, okay, we won't try it. Although,
unless
he's looking, they might go. Yeah, he has no flash. Remember that? They just dive it straight up. Oh, that's so rude. That's a brutal way to go. And now Davy Jones is straight up invading into the enemy jungle. But I think he, okay, went ahead, stunned up the Udyr. I thought he stunned red buff there. And Ewald's like, come on, I gotta at least do something. I have to be able to bring back some honor. And this might be the spot to collapse out on Davy Jones, who gets ignited. And that will be a slow burn kill. Captain Yikers getting revenge on the man that brings death.
And to be honest, I actually would have liked that kill to go on to the Zyra, because she's going to be the main carry in here. As now set. Okay, nice ult.
Yeah, nice ult, bringing it straight into tower range, and they might follow up with a few more bits, but again, no Stormbringer means no tower dive, as Goombi and Whole Grain Man will just go ahead and take a couple plates for themselves.
Yeah, it might not be the kill, but it's still going to be a recall forced out from AEN. It means that you're going to have alone time onto that top lane tower. And yeah, so this top lane looking quite rough, already out to a 500, 700 or 800 gold lead. But the main thing is this jungle matchup. Once again, like, Iwa just feels lost here. Again, 80 carry main. Might not know the optimal jungle pathings, and then when Whole Grain Man gets 3 kills like that, it makes this difference just feel even worse.
Yeah, 0-1, down about a camp and a half, or 2 camps and a half. Now Woof says, all right, I'll take a little bit of pain. Captain Yikers doesn't have level 6 yet, so can't follow up with the crystallized arrow, and at this point, I don't know if it'll even make a difference as long as Davy Jones tanks it.
Yeah, and now it really just again comes down to the Zyra. This Zyra has to be the one to carry the game. So she needs to be able to find kills, and she needs to find whatever gold she can here, as she already has the sword boots. So this next dragon fight is going to be really good for her. We'll see if they're able to execute around this next dragon fight, as that will be coming up in 90 seconds.
Yeah, first Drake did go the way of UST Absolute Zero. They got the Ocean Drake. Next one is Mountain, so it will be Cloud or Infernal. Once again, if we get 2 Infernal Drakes or 2 Infernal Soul games in a row, that will be something to enjoy. That means the gods of League of Legends have pretty much blessed you with an opening series.
Yeah, it's a nice little blessing there. And okay, Yone. Yone things.
Yep, that's going to be a follow-up, and gets the snap back after that unstoppable force. One of the unfortunate scenarios that can occur if you're a Malphite into a Yone.
Yeah, and he's actually gone for a double Ruby Crystal here instead of going straight for the Steel Cap Boots, which feels like a bit of a mistake here.
Oh, but here we go. Tower dive happening once again, and they get the shutdown, or not the shutdown, the kill on the Fire Force. Now they're going to follow up with the Solar Flare straight across the board. Bottom lane gonna get a root onto Sushi, but the flash out by Yikers means the turnaround is gonna be there, but no one could cleanse Captain Jack. There you are. Gonna have to rename that cleanup. Very well done to turn it around on the bot side, but they still lose so much in the mid lane. Aether Esports having some glimmers of hope, but that mid lane is a pit of despair now.
Yeah, this mid lane, as I believe your favorite term is pain. And it's looking like a whole lot of it. Teleports, double teleports actually forced into that mid lane now. He's pinched again.
Oh no, Fire Force teleported right into getting doused by 3 members. He is going to go down. Rampage is WGM the Volibear. So far, having an amazing time in this game.
Yeah, and Fire Force, he's gonna need a call Fire Force of his own, because it is on fire in this mid lane. An absolute disaster. Now, this top half of the map just feels so domineering, and once that Seraphine's able to hook up with them, that's going to make things a lot more difficult in these team fights, because yes, they've got a whole lot of melees, but you give a bunch of bruisers the help of an enchanter like Seraphine, who has so much AoE healing, you know, that's exactly what they love.
Now top lane. Gumi might be on the receiving end, but a nice little showstopper is able to flash right back out in the dragon area. Is going to drag in a kill of their own, so a Yen falters to the Camille. And this is just a mass circus music being played as UST Absolute Zero claim 2 on opposite sides of the rift.
You know, when you said mass, I was thinking that you're gonna say massacre, because that's exactly what's happening here. Top side goes down. It's a 1v2 situation. Goombi manages to take out the set on his way out. And then on that bottom side, like, Desire, yes, she is the pivotal piece, and she gets caught out. And now, okay, more fighting.
And the knockup is there. He dodges out of that growth up as Sushi is trying to help out. 5 members against 3. Shiba might be able to get taken down. Arrow goes out. He takes the blast cone. He survives. And this is UST slinging around their gold lead. Over the wall goes Whole Grain Man. He is going to chase down a few more kills. Double kill for Goombi in a 3v5 scenario. They survive. UST pull out the heist of a century as they come out 3 for 0.
Yeah. They found the booty. They found me treasure, and they go and run away with that one. Like, there's no more words really left to say. Already you're looking at a 7.5k gold lead. This is a very devastating lead, and it's only 13.5 minutes into this game. Like, we haven't even scratched the surface of the game, and the game's already over. What's going on?
What's going on is UST are saying finals didn't matter. That was a complete fluke.
Back to work,
coming back
boys.
with a vengeance here in the spring split, and we're showing that we're still a top dog. Yeah, we got 3-0'd. We'll bring it right back. We will 2-0 teams across the board, and I think they are hoping to do just that. Again, 4-0-2, 5-0-2, 4-0-1. Keep in mind, this is close to 1.5k in terms of the bounty board. That is very difficult to achieve, and that might just increase. That's just a simple solo kill. Goombi now diving under the tower, gets showstop underneath, and immediately cleaves right through. An empowered Q claims the life of a Yen. And now it is above. It is 1.6k as the battles just don't stop. Fire Force running away like his life depends on it. The bear chomping at the rocks. Lascone keeps him safe. Excuse me. And that is going to be Sushi and Yikers saving their top laner.
Saving their mid laner there.
Mid laner, very sorry. I'm so used to Malphite top. Gosh dang it.
Maybe he should have gone top lane here. You know?
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Awkward strike. Chivo now getting 1v2, but he might just survive the immortal Chivo, keeping him healthy, and UST straight up not the enemy side of the map. This is just plain disrespectful. Stun under the tower means Davy Jones is going to get tagged every so often, and he has to walk away, but Empowered W is going to be with us. So Wholegrain Man goes ahead, dives right back in, and stuns him up again, walking away with a prayer and a song. I think that's about 25 HP to his name, as he is going to try and channel the recall.
You see Volibear immediately when he pops Q, Captain Yikers is just like, oh man, that's a yikes for me, bro. I am out of there. I'm not coming around. And on the back end, Iwa, I mean, you hate to see it.
If you could see our faces right now, it's hard. That's about all we can say right now, because this is disrespect coming out. The amount of time Shivo has spent in the enemy side jungle has been more than the entire time he's spent in lane, I'm pretty sure. Like, he's like, cool, we took the tower, I'm just gonna live in the enemy jungle now.
Yeah.
And he's not even the jungler, he just doesn't care.
Wholegrain Man, he's been having a great time, because he's like, well, I don't need a gank necessarily. I can kind of do what I want because Shibo's just living in their jungle. You know, he's doing my work for me. So I'll just, I get to kind of mosey around, do whatever.
50% of the work, but 100% of the credit for Wholegrain Man right now.
Exactly.
He's getting, he doesn't have to actually counter jungle, but it's worked so well. You can see the CS differential, the level differential as well. And now just support support action, Sushi. Yeah, should be able to stay alive because Leona on her own wouldn't be able to take that. But looking at just the item differences, right? Yikers is the only one to have a mythic, and the charge in the enemy side. Wholegrain Man gets stopped by a couple vines and thinks better of charging into the dense forest.
Yeah. 12k gold lead, 17.5 minutes. Woo! At the very least, Ashe does have her Kraken Slayer completed, but the Kraken Slayer is not going to be enough here. Honestly, you're probably looking at something like a Shield Bow or a Gale Force, just to try and change a playstyle. You're not really looking to go front to back. You either want the Gale Force to try and maybe get you extra distance or assassination potential, or you want that Shield Bow so you don't get dove like this.
Yeah, not even diving because there's no tower to dive under. Yikers is trying to turn it around, but can't proc any damage fast enough. Gets stunned. The flash in, and the assaultful force by Fire Force is able to secure one, but he might pay with his life now as he is in enemy territory. 8 Yen throws the showstopper to flash to just get out of that battle. Goombi running ham on this top side, and UST absolute zero. Crack the base at 18.5 minutes.
All I have to say is, what's happening topside? This is an inhib going down here, and yes, you wouldn't necessarily say that taking inhib is great, but okay, just kidding. The inhib survives. I was going into a spiel about comparing the pros and cons of taking that inhib, but I don't need to do that, as we're gonna have still fighting go on.
It's just never ending at this point because UST just say, yeah, cool, we don't.
Let's do it!
4 on 5.
Oh my god.
4-man knock up into the wild growth combination to back it up. And this might be the time UST bit off a bit more than they can shoot, but they still only go 1 for 1.
Meanwhile,
what the heck? Wholegrain Man is just gonna walk away. Goombi goes, cool, I'll take your base. They're gonna draw Davy Jones in, but the haymaker doesn't land. Solar Flare catching you on the backside. He goes right in and is drawn under. The cleanse is used. So
good bait.
Davy Jones on the back end.
Wait,
but a tag is there. Oh, that feels so bad. The burn damage is enough. Goombi slays Dyra under the tower, and that will be the base becoming obliterated.
Yeah.
All right, break it down for us all the way back from like minute, I think 16 is when that all kicked off. Good luck. I'll take a break.
That was a long fight. I mean, in that bottom lane, that really was probably their best opportunity to try and get back into the game because of a bit of an overextension, but it just wasn't enough there. Okay, that's a little awkward. Yone gets caught. Well, okay, just kidding. But yeah, so they're gonna go ahead and take this Baron. In the meantime, like Camille being able to take that top lane, inhib into almost a Nexus tower is just absolutely brutal. And this is the last chance to lose right here.
Yeah, teleport coming in a little bit late, but the fate is sealed for the Zyra. They will fall into the Encore across 3 members. The Baron's still spitting on people, but the kills are all in UST's favor. They will claim the 8, a triple kill for Goombi, who is 10, 0, and 2. A monster on the Rift right now, as that should be the game, even faster than game number 1. They have the base open and teleport straight in as Shibo is smacking away at the last towers. 21 minutes, Sushi still up, but will quickly be cut out of the garden. UST Absolute Zero say we are here to stay. We are still challengers here in the UJL, and I mean they're still dancing a little bit. I think everyone came back up, so now they're just a little bit worried. But there we go, kills coming
KDA
through.
boost.
Cleanup is coming in. Double digits and perfect games from Goombi and Holgrave, man. I mean, the result is clear. UST Absolute Zero take the series 2-0.
Not a whole lot to say about that series. It was clean from start to finish, from the start of game number 1 all the way until the end of game number 2. I think really it's just like Aether never really got into the game, so it's hard to criticize where it all went wrong for Aether. And it's more like, well, better luck next week. Maybe you get the jungler situation figured out and we get to see more out of them. However, for the flip side, UST, great performance top to bottom. They played lane well. Whole Gray Man got involved all over the map, and Shibo, it's just a great matchup for him. Like, Fire Force wasn't going to bring out the tricky picks that would have made his champ pool an issue.
Yeah, wasn't able to as those bans to come through. So again, very well done, UST Absolute Zero in the draft and in game, pulling out a sub, I think 40-minute total game time in this series. So that will be it. They will record the 2-0 and move up to 1-0 in the Mountain Division. Now that will go ahead and conclude it for us here on the desk for the Upsurge Junior League. Once again, my name is Orbital, joined here by Nightstar with Caster Audio on the production. Thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's broadcast here at Upsurge, and we will see you all next time.